this morning. It was pretty light getting to Port of Spain this morning. Um, wasn't as sticky as a Monday and a Tuesday, but let me head down to San Fernando, see what's happening there, make my way up north, south, Trinidad. Nothing to tell you about. When you head into Princess Town, it's got some traffic. Riverhead Road is beginning to build. If you're heading to Couva, a little bit of traffic by Chase Village to Chicagonis and Charlieville towards the interchange. You've got some traffic there. We got an accident northbound on the Uriah Butler Highway, northbound. All right, just a ways after not Riverlet Road, Monroe Road. That's where you, and before Caroni, that's where you got your accident this morning. Um, it is telling me it's a bad one, but we'll see how that goes. I'll get some pics of it just now, I'm sure. Trid City towards UE, you got some volume. And then heading to Port of Spain, you got some traffic. All right, nothing out of Maraval, beginning to build, nothing out of Dago. Let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning. It is Friday. Let's do it again. It's Friday. First of the gate this morning, we've got Sack. So good morning to you, Sack. Buenos dias. Happy Friday. Oops, that's my phone. Yeah. Ken E., you're off the gate second. All right, I had to take that. That's engineers calling. Trevor Narima, you're second. Well, third, sorry. Garcia in Valencia. Good morning. DJ Ray out in Delaware. Not Tampa, but Delaware. Good morning to you. Garth Celia sending out birthday greetings to my sister, Maria Marva. Oh, today is Maria's birthday. All right, so Maria, happy birthday to you. Dennis, good morning. Miss Ingrid, Rena Budu Jennings, good morning to you. Oliver Man Warren, Big Guy, good morning to you. And big shout out to your sister visiting, Jillian. Good morning, Jillian. Carol Guevara, CJ New York, birthday girl. Maria Marva, morning to you. Special morning to you. D. Pierre, Ms. Maloney Dudu, good morning. Ray, out at West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to Ray. Mr. Carapo. And we've got DJ Sleepy. Yep, that's me. DJ Sleepy. All right, so good morning. Thanks for sending us a message via our mobile app and our website at power102fm.com. Checking some temps. Toronto, you were 3 yesterday, but now you're at 7 and partly cloudy. Miami, 24. Orlando, 21. New York, you're at 12 degrees. All right. Atlanta, 16. London, 13. Tampa, 22. And Washington, D.C., you're at 12 degrees. What the weather is going to be like for Trinidad and Tobago today, fair, but becomes partly cloudy at times from late morning, early afternoon with some isolated showers in confined areas. This evening will be partly cloudy after midnight with some isolated showers. All right? So there you go. Forecast maximum temperature for today, Piaco, they're saying 33 and 30 at Crown Point in Tobago. And they're also saying a low to moderate rainfall amounts are expected during the next 16 days. Wow. So there you go. All right, so let me say good morning going out to Paul Richards, who's got a frown on his forehead. Need to shake that off. Good morning to you, Pablo. Shake that frown off. Shake it off.
Morning.
Like a Taylor Swift there for a second. Shake it up. Sorry.
I don't know why you're shouting, but good morning.
Oh, jeez. All right, let me do it in Paul's fashion. Yeah, good. I don't know why he's shouting, but good morning. Sounds so dead, folks. He sounds so dead. Wake up, sip a cup of coffee, do
Good
something.
morning, Wendell.
Hi, morning, Paul, morning, Steve, morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and good morning, listeners and viewers. It's an
Are they even
absolute...
to call you account? Are they even to call you a counselor?
because I'm not. Never, haven't been a counselor since
He's an
20.
alderman.
Well, not alderman. Are they even to call you alderman?
Well,
Alderman.
just call me Wendell. That's good enough for me, most times.
I don't know.
You know? Good morning. We're here happy to be in the land of the living. Condolences to that family in Tobago. Oh, I read that story
Yeah,
just.
that's a we know his father.
Uh-huh.
Every time we go to Tobago, we meet him, and he took us to a couple of places already, and we've actually met his son. Never met his wife, but I met his son already a few times. It's only when I got a call yesterday. I said, "What?" And then I saw it on online, and then I heard how it happened, and I'm saying, "Geez, what
Could you,
a
yeah.
horrible way!"
Could you imagine those children when they got that news because the parents were on the way to pick up the three children?
Yeah, he picked up his wife, and then they were going to pick up the kids,
Yeah.
which is a daily routine for I was told.
Yeah, that I read that just now. I didn't follow the story yesterday, but I actually have an Express newspaper today. I stopped in a gas station a while ago and I got one. And I just said, "Whoa, what a story.
Yeah,
What a final destination type of story, you know?"
young couple,
Yeah, a very attractive couple. That's so sad.
horrible.
Anyway, happy birthday to Ali Berry. You all know her. Allison, what is Allison's
Halle
surname?
Berry's birthday is today.
Not Halle Berry.
Oh,
Ali Berry. She was the lady. She was an ardent fan of the breakfast show. You remember the lady who altered her wear when she was refused entry to some government building and it became news.
that's a while
We
back.
we actually interviewed her. We interviewed her the morning too. The morning after it happened. When she
I
was
know Ali.
refused.
Ali is a food caterer.
Yeah, she's a caterer. Yes, 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 yes. Today is her birthday. Lisa
Happy birthday,
Edwards
Ali.
and Donna Mora. Happy birthday to Donna Mora.
Maria Marva, can't forget her.
Okay.
Avid listener.
And who's coming up over the weekend? I think one of my sisters is over the weekend.
You don't know.
She's the 22nd. When is the 22nd?
The Monday,
Oh, Monday. Okay. So I'll wait till Monday.
Victoria Day.
Yes. And Basdeo Pandey is somewhere around this time too. And John Benoit is also somewhere around this time too. I always remember them. Yeah. Basdeo Pandey has to be somewhere around the 25th or 22nd also because the airport, Piako Airport, was opened on his birthday. I always remember that. Jolene John was the Minister of Works and Transport. And the airport, she cut the ribbon on the day of his birthday. Why do I remember these things? I don't know. Just like how I remember when Robinson, A&R Robinson became Prime Minister, the next day was his birthday. He made Prime Minister, I think, on December 15th, and December 16th was his birthday. Yeah. All right, so have you all tasted the new Lucozade, the apple blast?
Um, no,
I'm not a Lucas State fan.
I'm
You
not a
know,
Lucas fan.
I'm a Lucozade addict. Well, I probably being extreme when I say addict, but I drink Lucozade regularly. And there's a new flavor called Apple Blast. I don't like apple drinks, but I like this Apple Blast.
I'm not an energy drink fan.
I don't consider Lucozade an energy drink per se. It just
Well,
quenches my thirst, and I'm a thirsty
Lucas
guy.
Aid and Powerade and those things are what athletes use to energize them and put back electrolytes in their systems. It's a kind of
Yeah,
energy drink.
yeah. But it's probably the only energy drink
Not
then
a
that I
normal
drink.
beverage.
I
People
don't
drink
drink
it like
any
a
of the
normal
others.
beverage.
I don't drink Red
I'm not a
Bull. I
fan of
don't
those
drink
things. So
Monster. I don't drink
I don't like the taste
Gatorade.
of them. I find the taste odd.
Lucozade is probably the most palatable of all. But
Anyway, the
yes,
big news yesterday was, of course, the Privy
the
Council
Privy
ruling
Council. Yeah, yeah.
related to the government's amendment, which extended at the time the tenure of local government councillors and aldermen. And there's a lot of conflicting narrative around it. First, of course, the opposition claimed victory. Activist Ravi Maharaj will be our guest later on this morning. It's after 7 o'clock. Claimed victory because, well, the law lords had a split decision, 3-2, 3 majority saying, well, this is my precinct. The Attorney General has a different interpretation and he says he's seeking legal counsel. But I think if 3 say one thing and 2 say the other thing, the majority rules. That's my simple interpretation, which has prevailed in the past. So I don't know. Going back and saying the Attorney General added the Court of Appeal judges' decisions to the Privy Council judges, and it's like, what?
That was just an attempt at clever spin.
But it was a rationalization.
Yeah, it was an attempt at clever spin, Paul.
It was a stretch. It was a reach.
Yes, it was.
And I have the greatest respect for Senator Amos, Senior Counsel, but it was a stretch. Because the reason he went to the Privy Council is to move past the Court of Appeal decision. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no.
So adding the Court of Appeal judge's decision to that. How?
Well, again, as I said, it was an attempt.
I mean, he's not entirely inaccurate in specifically what he said, but the judgment is the judgment of the law lords in the Privy Council.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that is the judgment that counts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, but again, as I say, I laughed because I knew he had to come with something. I just
you had to rationalize the loss, eh?
Yeah.
You have to spin the loss. We understand you have to spin the loss but it's a loss, you know.
Yeah.
And in the simplest of terms, I am no legal mind. I'm not trained legally. It seems a local government election is imminent.
Well, it was always imminent. Because, I
don't know about always eminent. It's more eminent than it was before.
Well, we still don't know the date. The date is still up to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, it always wasn't always will be.
Right. So
yes, but I think now that this is my simple layman's interpretation.
You don't have a simple layman's interpretation. Don't dumb down yourself this morning just to get your point across.
Why are you beating up?
Don't do with that.
6:15. It's really 6:15. That's why he's a pretty people that want argue with him.
Sometimes. And I get in trouble for it, but that is all right.
That's why I feel like you're beating him up.
All of a sudden, you want to give a simple layman's opinion. Oh, give me a break.
You know, in my simple layman's estimation, it means that the amendment to extend the term of the aldermen and councillors should not have resided in the hands of the government.
Yes. It should.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
It should reside in the hands of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, that was.
But the people of Trinidad, sorry.
Yeah, Trinidad. That was the ruling.
All right.
At the end of the day.
And that's basically what it is. In other words, as of March 1st, the term should have ended. Yes. Unless the people of Trinidad chose differently in an election.
Yeah. So we've had March, the whole of March, April, and part of May as an extra in a kind of way.
It may be an illegal extra.
Well, we don't know. The Attorney General
said he's going to if it should not have been permissible under the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, and the law lords of a final appellate court, the Privy Council said that the government had no power to do that. It resided in the hands of the people of Trinidad. How it could be standing?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. The Attorney General said he is going to examine it legally with some senior attorneys and advise the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister will then, I guess, act accordingly. You know?
I find this program need emojis.
How are you going to do that?
So I could put up some emojis for them for those rationalizations. When you see such a stretch and add the Court of Appeal judge's decision to 2 minority judges' decision, you're reaching for the stars, eh?
But he was so clever with his words. He said,
because he's a bright man. He's a brilliant attorney.
Disabuse your mind of your misunderstanding
and quickly becoming an astute politician.
Oh yes.
Quickly. Yeah, so then I say, okay, how can I spin this out of the morass? Let me go back to the Court of Appeal decision and add it to the 2 minority judges.
Yeah, I actually
What?
enjoyed listening to the Attorney General yesterday, and of course they tried to corner him all how after, but as I said,
Well,
he's
he started very brilliantly by saying, "I am seeking counsel," which means I cannot make a definitive statement. So don't press me.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, but it was
And there are people who interpret it as and I'm paraphrasing here, as a loss for the government may be guilty of contempt. What? 3 against your move versus 2 means you didn't win.
yeah.
You didn't win mean that Mr. Ravi Maharaj's petition was successful.
Well,
It
had it
wasn't
gone,
unanimous.
le-
It wasn't unanimous,
right.
but it was successful in terms of the balance of the 5 Privy Council judges.
Well,
But we,
had it gone the other way, let's say 3 judges agreed with the government's position and 2 didn't. This morning, the opposition would have been having a press conference concerning the 2 dissenting judges, and and
you
and,
you
and
are you are going down the road of supposition. Let's deal with what is.
that is what
But you're
going on.
probably right. But you're probably right. But let's deal with what is and
I
not
know,
what may
right?
have been. And
Kamla,
what may have been. What may have been is a million permutations. What
Kamla
is what
Prasad
is.
Center would have been shouted to the high heavens. We
You
win.
know, if you were 6 inches taller, your whole life might have been different.
Probably. Probably. They might have called me a tall
Okay?
man. They might
Right.
have called
So
me tall man.
if Steve was a vegetarian, his life would have been different.
His stomach would have been. I ain't nobody life.
Right.
When I'm almost a vegetarian,
If I were 10 inches shorter, my life might have been different. Let's go down permutation route now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
imaginings route. Let's do that.
we could. We could.
Come on, let's deal with what is. I call you senior counsel now. What?
What's the headline in the
I'm
Express?
what spin exactly because
Just
it's
as I
spin.
expected.
It's spin because it is spin.
Yeah.
That's a good headline. It was spin.
Yeah, it was. It was.
It was Whirlpool and Electrolux and Samsung.
Oh God, don't show your age calling Electrolux now.
I don't have a problem with my age.
No, oh God, well, take a little fat.
You have a problem with your age? Why do it? But you said don't show my age. I want to show my age.
No,
Electrolux, yes.
because a bunch of people just say, "What is it? Electrolux? What is that? A soap?" I
next
said,
thing you
"Sound
know,
like
he'll
a
say he's
soap."
wear butter shoes.
Oh God, but it was
Let me tell
it
you,
was
my father bought a butter shoe to me with their mashed it up in 2 weeks. So much I hated it.
I didn't have a choice but to use butter shoes growing up because butter was really there was 3, 4 blocks away from where we lived and born and grew up, so we didn't have a choice. Trust me.
Age. I like that headline. AG spin. AG, you grin and you put it together.
I'm a spin. Yeah.
You're grin and you put it together. You never. When I hear that press conference, yes, hear me way he grabbed for them 3 appeal court judges. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
When no how you added that to that?
Yeah.
How make it make sense?
And you have to add the word learned judges, eh? That is the sticking that word
How
learned
no?
there.
How
Yeah.
how?
I expect, well, let's put it this way. The PNM
Everybody ready for the election now, you know.
yeah.
So
Well,
just call the
certainly-
date, which is going to be the question this morning. Should the government call local elections date?
Yeah, I have no
I
problem
find
with
should
that.
these dates be set, including general elections?
No.
And I think they should be set, but that's a different question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this thing in my back pocket is so childish.
That's why the Americans and is it the UK? The UK is called election too, but Americans have a specific date for the elections.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
first Monday in November.
Good morning, Edwin Marshall, Riri, Michael Grandiston, Anthony Tinto, and Edward Alyong. Edward Alyong says the AG is a DJ. Yeah, boy. He scratch on spin day, boy. He got on bad yesterday.
Yeah.
The DJ Reggie.
Yeah. DJ
SC.
Amo.
DJ Reggie.
As I said, the
SC.
has already issued nomination forms to party groups and
That's what I
constituencies.
say. Both major parties ready.
Yeah, but I don't know if the UNC does that, eh? Have
They
nomination
both
forms.
they both on election footing already, basically.
Yeah, I'm speaking about process here now, right?
Okay,
I'm
no,
not
I
too
ain't nobody
sure.
processes.
I'm not too sure UNC has a process of party group nomination and form. I think the UNC had already, though, based on what I read, had already issued and got nominations from candidates. I think what they're going to do
I
now is
think, as I said,
reopen.
both major parties, both the PNM and the UNC, have been on election footings for some weeks now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
just call the date.
yeah, so it's just to announce the date now
Just
and move
announce
it.
the date.
Because screening will take some time though, because it's 140, 138, I think,
That is
districts.
the party's problem. That is not the people problem.
True, true. But then it's
That is the people problem.
yeah, but you don't want to just
In,
throw
in,
anyone everybody
in
out
a
as a
kind of
candidate.
roundabout assessment of the Privy Council ruling, that should have been since March.
What's that?
The preparation and execution of the election date.
True, true.
So all you're supposed to be ready now. You get extra 2.5, 3 months by. Call the date.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand?
I was ready. I
I mean,
was ready to be
let
hard.
Wendell retire happy and get you the gratuity any money and thing
Well,
and
that's
relax yourself.
the problem. That's where the problem lies now. I mean, I'm hoping that the cabinet would take the decision before to at least allow some sort of gratuity for people who would have served for a number of years.
You don't officially get gratuity.
No, we don't. Only the person
Why?
who's at the helm of the corporation.
Are you serious?
I am very serious.
I think that's so wrong,
It
given what
is. It
local
is
government officials
very
have
wrong.
to do. I think it's wrong, and
It's
that's the kind
very
of
wrong.
inequity to have in this country in terms of the system. I do understand how some does get and some don't get, and they're basically doing so much work on behalf of people. I just do. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's a kind of is a display of respect or lack of respect for certain positions in this country.
I think it's lack of respect. I think they
Yeah, I don't
local
know
government,
respect or lack of respect.
yeah,
Yeah, for
local
certain
government
positions in the country.
has not gotten the respect that they deserve, and a lot of
Yeah.
those councillors work very, very hard. And guess what? They'll
Well,
serve
when
for
disaster
nine,
strike,
10.
we just call your imperial counselor.
Exactly. You'll serve for 20 years. I know a councillor, I always talk about him, Ronald Hira. At one point in time, he was the lone PNM representative in Chaguanas. He served for 20 consecutive years, lost narrowly in the last election, and gone home with nothing, Not a drive taxi or
That's
something.
wrong. That is so wrong.
Very wrong. Very
After
wrong.
you basically dedicate your whole life to local government and serving people.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. I agree. I don't understand. I ask if you will get gratuity, just as
No.
a sign of a token of appreciation. Because that's what it is. I don't see the gratuity that it is a token.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. And that will
Because
only
because
happen.
local government councillors and aldermen salary not that high.
No.
It ain't even $10,000. It's
$4,230 is the
yeah
stipend. And
So
after you add a few of the subsistence allowance and telephone, you get about $7,800 at the end of the month. That's what it is. That's what local government people get. Nothing more than $8,000 a month. The deputy mayor and the mayor will get more, but a councillor who
in many
serves,
cases, they're doing much less.
yeah, yeah.
I don't call no name.
But that's what happened. So, cabinet, I think the decision for the gratuity is in the hands of the cabinet, and hopefully
Okay.
it will be made in the fullness of time.
But that's what it should be applying the new local government reform law as fast as possible. And
Yeah,
so these positions become permanent and people are paid well and they're full time and and the corporations can collect the monies and work on behalf of the burgesses and just we can't be operating in a 40-year-old system in 2023.
yeah, yeah. I was
You can't.
hearing about the salaries that are proposed in Jamaica. I don't know if you saw
Hmm.
it.
Well, the
The
opposition should be
It's
against the
almost
massive salary
200%
hike for
increases.
parliamentarians.
Almost a
While many
200%.
Jamaicans living below the poverty line.
Well, I was astounded when I heard the figures, even for local government people. who earning like 140,000 a year, gone to 400 and something thousand a year. Almost 200% increases across the board in Jamaica.
Morning, Ragobarsingh.
Morning.
Morning,
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 guys. Good
morning.
morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Morning to our listeners, wherever you are on this wonderful Friday morning.
You come to DJ too this morning?
If I came to what?
To DJ, like the Attorney General was DJing and spinning yesterday.
Or behave yourself. That people
The
try and like
Express
you.
say so. The Express say, I'm on spin. Am I wrong, Wendell?
That's the headline.
The Attorney General grabbed the three appeal court judges in Trinidad and Tobago and added to the minority 2 judges in the Privy Council and come up with an interpretation of sorts. How you do that? The reason he went to Privy Council is
I didn't see the press conference, so I can't say.
But then don't tell me I can't say it's spin. Because the Express says spin. And many people say spin.
Okay, I didn't see it, so I cannot comment. So I will
we need to hire senior for our bazaar. I don't know what happened there. You hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, right. Well, I see it like I said, a glitch in the matrix there.
Yeah.
Well, then I drop for a second.
He's still off.
Yeah, you come back on just now, his system a little slow.
Yeah.
So good morning, everyone. Welcome back, Wendell.
Yeah,
we had a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah,
I had a slight blip in electricity, a minute blip. I want to play something for you all. I don't know. And this really goes to the erstwhile Commissioner of Police, and this is a robbery in.
Robbery in the gas station, Robbery in the gas station.
Which gas station is this?
Saddle Road in Marval.
Robbery in the gas station by Sawa Live.
Saddle Road Town.
Get kicked. Monsters out.
Marval.
They're saying San Juan there.
San Juan, okay, well, my apologies, San Juan. Listen, keep watching.
Robbery in the gas station are live.
But they didn't call the police while they were doing the taping of live?
No, we have to get the tape first. Watch now. Army Fatigue 1.
1, 2, 3.
Army Fatigue 1. Have another Army Fatigue when I run out. 1. 2. He's so big he could barely get in the car. The thief pen.
But he should be fine. Easy to find. That one should be easy to find.
Why? How?
Pero people in the know, people around the areas and things. You feel they don't know these guys?
That car that bun up in the corner, that's ambush already.
Yeah, but the people in where this fella's from, just know them.
So while he doing the live video, did he call the police? Of course.
Probably not.
From time you realized that there was a robbery taking place.
Robbery in the gas station.
Do you think when live is calling the police?
Is he filming? He has to be filming from another car somewhere.
Yeah. Or hidden behind the post.
Yeah.
He's trying
Now
to
tell
hide.
In the gas station by Sawa Live. Get kicked. Monsters out.
Monsters out.
Robbery in the gas station.
They look like professionals, eh? Do they look particularly nervous or antsy?
They look scared.
They look a little nervous, but they look like it doesn't look like something they didn't do before.
No, yeah. And when they get held, oh God, I don't know what happened in prison. He's a good boy.
That's fine for them, Five sit down on the side and put on together. Where they get these army fatigues from?
Well, that's a big army fatigue guy. He's tall and he's big.
Yeah. Well, that don't mean he's from the army. He has an army
No,
fatigue.
I ain't say that. So somebody watching him this morning would
Must
say,
know who it
hey,
is.
but I feel
You know how
like
much big people like that in Trinidad and Tobago?
huh?
People don't tell the big people that size in Trinidad and Tobago because he that size they can catch him. That what you're saying?
No, I'm saying there are people in the neighborhoods where these guys are from who recognize them, don't get tapped,
Yeah, you can recognize somebody by body and gait. You're right.
Yeah. Somebody's
I
watching
don't
him
know.
and
When I
saying,
saw that last night, I just like shook my head again because I mean, thank God they didn't shoot and kill anybody. You understand?
yeah, yeah. Because they look like they all had guns.
Yeah. But is that they have the army fatigues is more disturbing to me. I don't know if it's legitimate army issue, but there was a conversation this week in the JSC about ammunition and clothing from police and army that are being used by criminals in Trinidad and Tobago pretty regularly. And the accountability for those things, particularly the ammunition, in the context of crime and persons who are committing crimes. I don't know. Ragobarsingh, all right?
Yeah.
He
I
looks
was
like
just
he's
wondering, my only thing with that video is why you ain't calling the police?
well. Yeah, and at least you didn't even hear him telling because he's clearly with someone else too.
Yeah, it sounds like he's somebody else. So
Yeah.
even if you want to be, social media detective or social media viral seeking instant, I have the footage person.
That's exactly what I have the footage person.
You should have somebody else calling the TTPS.
Agreed. But I'm sure his footage as instant liking, sharing, viral he wants it to be. I'm sure because I think he got the number plate of the car. didn't he?
I'm sure it can, yeah, you're right.
Why is there
I
somebody
know. I
saying
just think it's so
if you
disturbing.
can't get through, rob it?
But he's obviously hiding to her. Think about it.
He's hiding. So.
Yeah, he's
He
hiding.
probably was there and he saw them. Yeah, he's hiding, keeping himself quite concealed during the course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. And the car number is clearly visible in the video. So is the police, have the police started their investigations? PD what? 315, 31 what?
I think
89.
it's PDN.
PDN.
Yeah.
PDN 3189.
A white wagon, a white 80 wagon, it looks like.
Yeah.
Monsters on the scene, boy. Monsters on the scene. In other news, the Queen's funeral cost the UK people £162 million.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Small money for the Queen. No? That is in somebody's back pocket in England. How much the coronation cost?
That's the
King's
next thing.
coronation. Although they say that was less grand than her coronation. His coronation wasn't as grand as hers. And it was shorter. So they said repeatedly during that broadcast. But let me see what else happening in the news. Of course, elections. I can't wait for local elections actually. I'll go out there and campaign for all the PNM candidates, of course. I'm going to do my best to make sure that they all win. And then I will go my merry way unless they say, Wendell, let me use you again now.
That's why you put it as again.
Well, yeah, because I've been told I have a specific role, which is to guide and teach. You understand? The Prime Minister himself told me that when he put me back in as an alderman. He said, Wendell, I need you to help guide and counsel these young ones. And which I think I did a pretty good job. Some of them was real hard-headed and stubborn, and some still are, but I gave it my all, and if they ask me to do it again, I guess I will, Although I mean,
I find if you make your mayor and done, I find you work for that.
well, yeah, if I get, if, I think if I get the position of mayor or even deputy mayor, let's go there, I think I will make a difference. But again, as I say, that's not my call, and you don't get to campaign for that. You understand? You
How
don't
does that
get
happen?
you don't get to campaign for that. You just have to wait and say, hey, you get picked. Or no, you ain't
But you
get
have to
picked.
start campaigning behind the scenes. You don't campaign outwardly, you
To
campaign
who?
inwardly.
To who?
To who matters?
I'm not that type of person. Other
But you
people
need to
do it.
become you need to
Other
become
people
that
do
kind
it.
of person.
Huh? Who
You need
said
to
it?
become that kind of person.
I'm not that person. I'm sorry. If I was that person, trust me, I probably would have been the mayor already. You understand? Because I think, and I can tell you all this, in 2016, when Dr. Rowley himself intervened and put me as an alderman, even before the election, he said, you'll be an alderman. I think
But you
his
have the
intention,
biggest string you have the biggest string in the party. Rope,
who?
cable,
Well, again,
the person who making the call put you there for a reason. Why not put you as mayor too?
and he
Right?
recognized that, and I think he was going to do that. That's my interpretation, because a lot of people started calling me and texting me and saying, "I hope you're ready for bigger things." And I said, "Of course I am." But I wasn't so arrogant. But I knew that I was.
Richard,
And then,
Richard, next thing,
and
Richard,
then,
in a couple of months, we have to put under, have to put a label, his worship,
no, we got. Oh God, we went through all this already.
his worship, Mayor
Yeah,
Wendell
we,
Stephen.
we went
Watch
through
me
all
with
this.
the thing that's put on the neck and thing.
We went through all this already back then. We went through it in 2019 again, and we'll probably go through it again this time. But again, as I said, this time I am actually not perturbed by any decision
I
that is.
actually think, well, in the new permutation of the local government uh, reform, the mayor has a more significant role, and the ambiguity of the CEO and the mayor's remit is a little more clarified, you know?
Yes, yes.
So a mayor will be able to do much more if the mayor is so inclined. Let me stress that, because the mayor mightn't be
Yes,
so inclined to do any
you're very
damn work
right.
at
No,
all.
but
You understand?
isn't it going to reduce the pool of candidates because it's now a full-time post?
Well,
No,
that's a proposal some people made, but not necessarily so, because you're getting better remuneration packages.
I think it will
Some people
increase.
contended that, well, it's still not enough to get professionals to leave the work whole time to go and do that. But I think there's so many young people in the country who are looking to serve and looking for a job full time that you will get candidates. I think
I
you will
think
get.
I think you'll get an increase pool, Richard.
Hmm.
Yeah, of people
And
coming forward.
do we know what the remuneration is as yet?
No, no, we don't. All of that,
It's to be said. Is it to be said by the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Local Government or something?
finance sets it.
Yeah, Minister of Finance.
Yeah, yeah. No one knows. So again, I mentioned that the other day, that for people who are already employed and serving at local government level, they have a decision to make whether they want to continue serving at local government and give up whatever job they've been doing, right? Or they want to leave. You have a choice to make. But that choice will be predicated to me on what the remuneration package is, and we don't know what that is. You know? You know what your salary is now, you know what the stipend is now. But if you have to
It's going to be
leave your
more.
job, sorry?
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't.
it'll be more, but it might be more enough to entice everyone to go back
That's
or
what
to
I'm
leave their full time
thinking. I'm
job.
thinking I was
Exactly.
going along the line, Wendell, of traditionally a lot of the mayors have had really high-profile jobs or jobs that are considerable in remuneration, and they may not find, especially, they may not find whatever the remuneration is for a mayor to be attractive to put their hat in the ring.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
if
you're
it's
right.
full time, especially if it's full time, and it means that you have to take some sort of leave from your job and or leave your job. If you're in a
Yeah.
job, for example, for whatever your job you're in, you're there for 20 years or 21 years or whatever, and they offering you this job as mayor for 5 years, not for 4 years,
4 years.
you may decide, I don't know, that's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people may decide that a full-time job is not worth it to stay, and they go that way. I think Wendell
Yeah.
is right. You'll get more people,
Yeah.
or
You
you'll
got
get new people in the system.
You may get new people, but I don't know that you will get more people.
Well, I don't know that every council and alderman has a full-time job that pays what they will get now anyway. We don't know that. Many may and many may not.
Yeah. I think.
I'm talking particularly at the hierarchical level. The
Well, you
top,
mean at the
the
top?
top level of the hierarchy.
Well,
Of course,
ideally.
you'll have aldermen and not aldermen. Sorry. Of course, you're going to have people who are going up for candidates in the area, whatever it is, and they may be fine with a full-time job. But at the level of mayors and stuff, generally mayors have something else that they're doing because they're at a certain level.
Yeah.
Another consideration, Richard and Wendell will know this, is that many persons within the party structure consider this a stepping stone to a different level,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they look at it as that. So it's not
Yeah.
always about the money, but about the opportunity to build their profile and serve and move
Yeah.
on to another level later on. So
Yeah.
that's attractive to many people.
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything else, Paul,
And that's fine. Like many other sectors. Anyway, it's 6:45. Who has papers?
I have the Express.
yeah, I have the Guardian and Newsday. I'm the expert.
There we go.
I'll start with the Express, and
The
today
question I'm suggesting is, should local government elections be coordinated with Privy Council judgment?
immediately. Well, yeah, you probably should add a little.
I probably will add
grammar in
immediately,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. With immediate effect. Friday, May 19th. That's the date today, and the headline in today's Express reads: Armors spin. Privy Council rules government wrong to postpone local government elections. And these are the words of Senior Counsel Attorney General Reginald Armour. No rational possibility exists for any political capital to be gained out of anyone misrepresenting this judgment. That would be wrong, tantamount almost to a contempt of court. Strong words coming from the Attorney General. Kamla, to the polls now. Well, she will rewind and Ramajé and TTV and all kind of, Monday Night Forum, just take on a whole
Read the
different.
headline, read the headline, read the headline.
Oh, God.
Read the headline, sir. You have time for that after, sir. Read the headline. Stay on track. Because you're a machine and TTV right now. You're a machine and TTV right now. Headlines.
Richard, I
Focus.
just get slapped down from I just get slapped down from the independent man, yes.
Yes.
Read the headlines. Focus.
Couple died.
Double S, you know well that you get spin. One was spin, one was slap.
Yeah, boy. Couple dying crash.
Obviously, camera person be saying you go, of course. Come on, man. Focus.
I'm not laughing at this story, yeah, folks. But this is a very tragic story. Couple dying
God.
crash, and there are
So
pictures of
tragic.
Christian Adams and
Yeah, it's
Teresa.
really a tragic story. Really
Very
tragic.
So, shooting disrupts Belmont schools. That's also a sub-headline. The story is on the inside. Again, a shooting around the school area that had children in trauma.
Well, they had two yesterday. They had by Providence and they had by Carnage Girls RC as
Yeah,
well.
Providence had to evacuate the school because a gunman was running through the school, and one of the Belmont schools, somebody was shot around through the school.
Yeah, crazy, yeah?
Poor school children these days, let me tell you.
Feeling good. That's the back page in sports. Seals seeing progress, but not rushing back. And that's Jaden Seals, fast bowler for Trinidad Tobago Night Riders. Nadal to finish in 2024. Carter gets Mayor Nostrum bronze. And there's a picture of football. West Ham reach conference final. So that's the front and back of today's Express.
Newsday. Today, Friday, May 19th. Main headline: Privy Council local government extension wrong. Let the people decide. That's the headline. couple killed in Tobago crash, and the main picture is that of friends and or family members in um, total grief
His father.
out of that accident. But it's really a woman. Since you don't have the Newsday, you don't know what the picture is. And on the back page of the Newsday, $34 million life sport lawsuit reinstated. Sport TT gives green light in claim against ex-CEO, and 13 execs. TT draw Mexico, Puerto Rico in Women's Gold Cup finals. So that's it for the front and the back of the Newsday. I'll go straight on to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Main headline, everybody went with that Privy Council decision, basically. UNC after Privy Council overturns local government election, call elections now. Law Lords cite ambiguity of action and AG to advise government on next step. All of that's on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today. Couple killed in Tobago accident. That's tragic stories also on the front page. And what's this? Shot man runs through school and disrupts CSEC exam. That's also on the front page. On the back page, AEK Athens wants 15 million euros for Garcia. And that's basically it. That's the front and the back of the three dailies this morning in TNT.
Yep, that's the story. You know, I want to I'm got a message. Morning, Karen. From someone who I asked him if he might be a good candidate to interview because he served at a local government level before, was a very good councillor, but he also has a job, a well-established job, and he would love to serve again, but he's not sure if he want to leave his job, you know. So he might be somebody worth speaking to in terms of the thinking, but I guess, as I said, only until the remuneration package is known will people be able to make an informed decision like that. So I don't know why wasn't very clear from day one what the package is. Because if you go into local government now, you know what you're going to get. You know your stipend is $4,200. You know your subsistence is 15. You know your telephone is 6. You know your traveling is 1,000. You understand? You know you're allowed an office not more than $2,500 a month. You know you're allowed an office assistant not more than $3,000 a month. You know all that going in now. So why would you not let people know what they're going into when the reform kicks in? You understand? I didn't understand that part, and well, I didn't want to ruffle any more feathers because I'm a feather ruffler.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we have to run into our morning poll. And let me give you the results of our poll from yesterday. We asked you, is your trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service increasing in spite of the levels of crime? That's our poll. Results after this.
Are you ready for the wet and hurricane seasons? National Disaster Prevention and Preparedness Month, NDPPM, is here. The NDPPM Multi-Sectoral Committee, along with various government ministries and agencies, invites you to come out and learn more about disaster prevention and preparedness on Friday, 19th May at the Brian Lara Promenade from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Roxborough Sid Grace Sporting Complex from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Being disaster ready is my responsibility. For more information on the NDPPM activities, visit the ODPM website at www.odpm.gov.tt/NDPPM.
All right, they're all set up in the Brian Lara Promenade as they passed this morning. Is your trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service increasing in spite of the levels of crime? That's our poll. 79% said no. 79. Of course, there was a small protest, or should I say gathering, outside the police admin building yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, what was that about?
I think it was for the COP to be resigned or something like that.
The Commissioner of Police?
Yeah.
No, it was not. It was somebody sending some document on Foster Cummings to the commissioner.
And they gone outside police headquarters.
So
They
much
should have They should have locked up all of them.
Yes.
All right, our poll.
Our poll this morning, Paul, you have the word in there? Should
Should
local government
Do you
local
elections
think
be
the date for
called
local government
immediately?
election should be called immediately in light of the Privy Council judgment? Do you think the date for local government elections should be called immediately in light of the Privy Council judgment? Yes or no?
Yeah, that's our poll this morning, people.
222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. On YouTube, you can send us a message there as well on our website at powerwater2fm.com and our mobile app. Good morning to H.S. William, Leonard Naipaul, Cheryl Charles, Beauty Culture, good morning. All right, H.S. Wilson says definitely yes.
Richard, are you writing?
Yes.
Yeah, Richard, listen to
I
this
wasn't
message.
initially, then I got the footwork came in and I scrambled.
Listen to this message quickly, right?
Hold
Why
on.
you giving men my number? I say, Say, nah, I'll call me. He said he got my number from a man called Wendell Stephen. I say, you got what? He said, yeah, why you giving men my number? And I got your number from a man called Wendell Stephen. I said,
I did say that. Maraval on the road says no. DJ Ray says yes. Meb says yes. Leonard Naipaul says yes. What says you, caller? Yes or no? Where you calling from?
Good morning, Grandy. Yes.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I said no, and you will have a blessed weekend.
All right. Thank
yeah.
you. You too. All right. Should local government elections be called now?
In light of the Privy Council decision, should local government elections be called immediately in light of the Privy Council decision? That's our poll this morning. What do you think? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099, people on the web and the app. You know what to do. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Trini Jam says absolutely yes. Trevor Narima, no. Beefy Smith, yes. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
We done mark the no already, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, hell no. Things have to be put in place. What is now?
No, it's just the date they call it, you know. Things should have been in place already to know it coming.
And what? But did they know that? The Prime Minister, they done call people about screening in the PNM.
Them screen already. Thanks, you know.
All right.
All right. Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Morning, Indy. And of course, my sweetheart, Carly. Morning. They say yes.
Our poll this morning, should the local government elections be called immediately in light of the Privy Council decision? That's our poll this morning. What says you? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099, people in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255, people on the web and the app.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
Disabuse yourself of your own misunderstanding. Oh, the AG was waxing poetic yesterday.
Didn't see the press conference at all.
The only other person I've heard,
Actually, it wasn't a meeting at the time, actually.
you know, the Chief Justice has a way with words, right? Uses a lot.
Marcus G says yes. DJ Sleepy says no.
Hey, DJ Sleepy, how you going?
Carol Guevara says no. She said, whatever. No. All right. Thank you, Carol, here. All right. We have a minute and a half again to take your votes on our morning poll. Should local government elections be called immediately in light of the Privy Council judgment that the government was unlawful in extending the term of office? Yes or no? That's our poll. Slick Money Grip says no. Beauty culture, no.
Interesting poll. And Richard?
Of course, our poll will stay up until Monday morning. So you have the whole weekend to check it out. All right. CJ from New York says no.
Hi, CJ.
Good morning, caller.
CJ is not in New York at this point in time.
Morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. We should have a date for elections by the end of the day. I say yes.
All right,
Yeah.
big guy.
I done my yes, don't big guy. Don't worry yet.
I find these dates should just be carved in stone.
Yeah, I think it's
It
time
should
somebody
be.
does it.
It's quite
You're right.
juvenile to have it in your back pocket. And as citizens, we really should.
Yeah, well, we often raise that topic here.
Yeah, it's
Having
having
a definitive date. Yeah.
it's kind of stupid.
Well,
Before we get into news, Miss Ingrid says yes.
well, we follow the British way because they had 3 prime ministers in 1 year, not so?
Yeah.
3 elections they
We're
will have.
independent. Ingrid Adams says my answer is no. All right, let's get into our major news. Avi is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Attorney General Reginald Amo is still claiming victory despite the Privy Council's ruling against the government's decision to extend the term of local government officials. Meanwhile, the AG says he's seeking advice from senior counsel on the Privy Council judgment. A daily newspaper is told to correct its editorial on statements made by National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines, and the G7 agreed to starve the Russian war machine. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel Bob. Good morning. Despite the Privy Council ruling against the government's decision to extend the term of local government officials, Attorney General Reginald Amo is still claiming victory. Amo, at a media conference yesterday, referred to the Privy Council's minority report of the 2 judges against the majority ruling of 3 and the overturned Court of Appeal ruling to support his statements. The AG added that all of the judges had rejected that argument that there had been a breach of the Constitution by the amendments to increase the term from 3 to 4 years. The Privy Council ruled that the extension of the term of office of councillors and aldermen as contained in the Local Government Amendment Act 2022 did not apply for the current councillors and aldermen, but rather incoming officials in the next local government election. It means that the term of office of the incumbents ought to have expired on March 1st, 2023. Meanwhile, the Attorney General is liaising with senior counsel as he gets advice pertaining to the London-based Privy Council judgment on Thursday. Amo said that he has the decision under active consideration and he will pass on the guidance received to the Cabinet. AG Amo said the decision as to when local government elections will be called is one for the Prime Minister to make. He said it will be irresponsible of him to rush to conclusions on this matter.
I am consulting with learned senior counsel from whom I am taking advice. The decision was handed down, I think, about 3 hours ago, and I am giving consideration to it for the advice that I will give to the Cabinet. The decision ultimately as to when an election is to be called will be for the Prime Minister.
He said the decision of the Court of Appeal are not relevant. Rather, he said the decisions of the Court of Appeal are not irrelevant, and the reasons why he returned to them is because the Privy Council has been careful to refer to passages out of the judgment out of Trinidad and Tobago.
The remarks of the judges of the Court of Appeal are not irrelevant. It is relevant to the extent that their remarks are part of what is referred to in the reasoning process of the Privy Council, And I would respect the fact that to that extent, the remarks of the Court of Appeal, which half of the decision of the Privy Council has agreed with, that is to say, the Court of Appeal rejected the violation claim of the constitutionality of the amendments.
The United National Congress is pleased with the Privy Council's ruling on what it describes as the government's unconstitutional postponement of the local government elections last year. UNC Public Relations Officer Dr. Kurt Mayhew said the Privy Council ruling respected the separation of powers between the judiciary and the executive. In a voice clip on Thursday, Dr. Mayhew said the UNC will continue to lead the fight to advance democracy.
Given the ruling that the term of the local government councillors is over, the next step for the government is clear. The law says that elections were due no later than 90 days after the 2nd of December 2022. That deadline has passed. The government has no option but to immediately call local government elections. It does not matter if the PNM are afraid that they will lose. They must call elections, win, lose, or draw.
The Ministry of National Security is seeking an immediate correction in the Express newspaper's editorial on Thursday, as well as a commensurate correction to accompany its digital and online versions. The ministry said it anticipates the newspaper's timely corrective action in this regard. It said it has taken note of the editorial headline, "A Report to Take on Board." In this editorial, the publisher, represented by Editor-in-Chief Ms. Omati Lida, referenced a statement by the Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, when he spoke at a news conference on May 1st, 2023 at the ministry's head office in Port of Spain. The ministry said the Express editorial inaccurately referenced the minister's statements from the news conference, stating he commented, quote, "Criminals have friends among judges," end quote. However, the ministry said at no point did Minister Hines refer to judges in his statement. In fact, the minister stated inter alia, quote, "The criminals have friends everywhere in this country. They have them in the police service, they have them in the customs, in the immigration, in the defense force. They have them in the judiciary. They have them in the parliament," end quote. The Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Reginald Armour, would have said subsequently he was satisfied the minister did not impugn the integrity of the judiciary in his statement. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The G7 leaders are holding their annual meeting in Hiroshima, Japan. They have agreed new sanctions to starve the Russian war machine, according to a statement. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will attend the summit on Sunday, according to Ukrainian officials. Zelensky has confirmed his arrival in Saudi Arabia, where he will attend the Arab League summit. The physical presence of our president is absolutely important in order to defend our interests, Olensky Danilov said. The G7 comprises the US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan, but 8 other nations have been invited this year. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago fair, but becoming partly cloudy at times from late morning into early afternoon, with some isolated showers in confined areas. Nighttime will be partly cloudy after midnight, with some isolated showers and or intermittent rain. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 30 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, Tobago. It is 28 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, Attorney General Reginald Armour is still claiming victory despite the Privy Council ruling against the government's decision to extend the term of local government officials. Meanwhile, the AG says he's seeking advice from senior counsel on the Privy Council judgment. A daily newspaper is told to correct its editorial and statements made by National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines, and G7 agreed to starve the Russian war machine. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You can join her again at 8 o'clock. For our news brief. All right, and welcome to the second hour of the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. let's take a look at what's happening on the highways and the byways at this time. Starting out in San Fernando, lighter than usual, for sure, for sure, for sure. If you're exiting from the Solo to Taruba Link Road, you've got some traffic there. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much it. All right, heading northbound, let's take a look, see what's going on. Rivulet Road, not too bad. Busy, but not too bad. Your traffic on the highway is starting from Charlieville. All right, just after Sugar Waters before Monroe Road, which is a bit beginning to build because there's an accident just before Caroni, northbound. All right, take the Southern Main Road through Chin Chin Road, volume St. Helena, Madras Road, straight out towards past Kelly Village. You've got some traffic this morning, and from the Caroni roundabout heading towards Currap, also busy. Eastern Main Road busy from Arima Old Road heading straight towards Currap, and then Mount Hope towards Mova Junction. Lower Santa Cruz going up Lady Young Road, coming out of Maraval and Mocha and Moncoco Road onto the saddle. You've got some traffic there as well. All right, ouch. And out of Diego Martin, you're going to get some traffic by Crystal Stream and the Diego Martin Main Road. All right, and of course, coming out from Lansmitan and construction out on Western Main Road there by West Moorings, you got some traffic there as well. All right, gentlemen, let's continue with our show before our guest comes in. Mo Gaines, we got yes and a yes, and that's from himself and his beautiful wife. And let's see. I said Ingrid Adams said no. Nothing. All right, that's it. Let's get the results of our morning poll.
All right, Richard will have those results in a short, I see.
Yeah, of course, we asked you this morning, should local government elections be called immediately in light of the Privy Council judgment that the government was unlawful in extending the term of office? Richie Rich,
right. So we had in out of the we had how many we had 23 people voting on the poll this morning, and of the 23, 13 said yes, that they believe that local government elections should be called immediately, and 10 of you said no, it should not be.
That was close.
Yeah, it was pretty close at certain points, even closer than that. So 13-10, so it's 23 people voting in the allotted time. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day and through our programming, and we'll give you the final results on Monday morning, because the weekend has begun, people, as you should darn well know, because it's Friday. So even if you're in traffic, there should be a slight smile at the corner of your lips, because you know it's Friday.
It wouldn't mean that traffic tomorrow.
Yeah, and of course, theater is on this weekend. This Little Piggy is Tired is on this weekend at Sapa in San Fernando, and it's the final two shows in Trinidad. So Saturday at 8:30, Sunday at 6:30. Of course, people, wherever you are in Trinidad, this is the final opportunity to see the play if you are in Trinidad. Of course, tickets are available at the Sapa box office from 12 noon to 6 p.m. And of course, tickets are also available at K Squared Fashions and as well as Creme Fresh and Brentwood Mall, Chagonas. So you can get your tickets early before we head to Tobago on June 3rd. So that's basically it in terms of our the play on this weekend. Do not miss it.
Paul, just quickly before we get into the guests, local government reps could be akin to clinging on to office too right now.
You're muted, Paul.
Paul, you're muted.
All right.
Very quiet. Good morning, Mr. Ravi Maharaj.
We got you now. And where did
you hearing me? For some reason, it just went off again. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So our guest, there he is.
Yeah. So good morning to Mr. Ravi Maharaj. Good morning to you. How are you?
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I was in my headphones for some reason.
All right. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, sure.
All right. Of course, as you can see, we have Richard, Paul, Wendell, and myself. And welcome. All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Right.
Good morning.
Good
Thank you,
morning to
Johnny.
your
Yes,
entire panel.
your first response to the Privy Council judgment, which many are suggesting you were successful at some level with.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you get the idea that many are thinking that. I think the judgment speaks for itself in that, the Privy Council ruled in our favor. Is a 3-2 judgment. So we won outright. But this narrative that the Attorney General is trying to spin is saying, he considered it 3 out of 8, right? And he counted the three judges that would have sat on the panel at the Court of Appeal and all of these things. All of these things are irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that the Privy Council is the final court of the land. They have the final say. And in their ruling, the majority decision was in favor of our case, the case that we put forward, which is that the government had absolutely no right to extend the term of the past local government executives and body, and they had no right to delay the election by an entire year, right? What should have happened is that if they wanted to implement the amendments that they had passed in Parliament last year, they had the responsible thing for them to do would have been to apply those amendments to any incoming term of local government bodies. They wanted to apply it to the incumbent term at that time, and we said no, that is illegal because not once in the entire debate in Parliament was that fact actually raised by anyone in government, and it was very deceptive. It was very illegal, as we find out, as the Privy Council ruled. So I think that the narrative that this is an opinion that we won, or this is an opinion that the Privy Council ruled in our favor, and sort of thing, all of that is a narrative that is being spun that is wrong. I object to that narrative completely and wholeheartedly because at the end of the day, the majority of the Privy Council ruled in our favor, and that is the ruling that the government needs to abide by.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Maharaj.
Well,
You
we
keep
also
saying
discussed this
we,
morning that
keep saying
that
we and
adding
our.
of the. Sorry, repeat, Wendell.
No,
Repeat.
I said he kept saying we and our. Explain that for me. Is it a team or yourself who filed this action?
Absolutely, it's a team. I didn't represent myself in the courts. I have
So
a
the
team of lawyers that represent me in the courts, and together we formed a case and we created a case that was victorious in the Privy Council. I can't take credit on my own because honestly, while I would have the ideas to do these things, right, had it not been for Anand Ramlogan, had it not been for the King's Council in the UK, who came on board while it was in the UK in the Privy Council, all of these persons who used their knowledge of the law and of the judicial processes to help win this case for me. So I can't take full credit for it. That said, and I know where you're going with that, the case was fought on my behalf, but it was fought for every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a UNC case. As a matter of fact, something I started to say yesterday. The victory isn't for Ravi Maharaj. It isn't for Anand Ramlogan, and it isn't for the UNC. Because every citizen in this country now has the right and the ability to go back to the polls and elect who they want to elect. It's not only UNC people going out to the polls. And it's not only PNM councillors and aldermen that were fired yesterday, right, and that have to vacate the post. It's UNC councillors, it's UNC aldermen, it's UNC
is
mayors that have to vacate as well.
is that what the ruling said yesterday? That PNM and UNC had to vacate the post from yesterday? Is that the
Absolutely.
interpretation of the ruling?
Absolutely. Because if the PNM had no right to extend, right, and they ruled that the extension was in fact illegal, that means all local government executives would have expired on December 3rd last year. Right?
Well,
You can't rule that is illegal and
March
then leave them
actually.
in office.
You
No,
had
no,
up
no,
until
no,
March
no.
actually.
The term came to an end on December 3rd. The government had a responsibility to call an election between the end date, which was December 3rd, and March 3rd of this year. That was for the election. But the actual term for the councillors and aldermen ended on December 3rd.
So your interpretation of what happened yesterday is that the people who would have been in office up to yesterday should not be in office after yesterday?
Absolutely. There is no functioning local government executive and committees as of the end of the workday yesterday. We do not have a local government body in place today.
Well, I would seek information on that, because that's not what we have heard and read thus far. As a matter of fact,
No.
this is the
Mr.
first we
Bargobin,
hear.
my understanding. Well, that's not, Mr. Bargobin is not the first person who has intimated that. Mrs. Pasabi has also indicated that she's inquiring about the legality of the persons in the positions and the decisions that they may have made while in the positions after the ruling date applies. So he's not the only person saying that. Mr. Bargobin, I had a conversation with
before we move on from that point, I wanna say something. In the initial case that we had brought, right, when this first came about in October of last year, the two matters that we raised was one, they cannot have an extension of the term, but we also sought to file an injunction, and the injunction was that the term of the incumbents should have ended on December 3rd, and we filed an injunction asking the courts to prevent them from serving in office past that date, and allow the hearing to conclude before allowing them to resume their duties. It was the decision of Justice Wilson. She said, that it was a dangerous practice to have to not have a continuing local government body in place, and she rejected the injunction. That said, it has always been a part of our case, not only that we need to have an election and go back to the polls, but that the existing body should have been found to have expired on December 3rd and should not have been allowed to continue in office, because everything that they've done between December 3rd and yesterday now should be called into question. Every contract that they gave, every payment they made, and Mrs. Pasabi Sessa brought up the issue of salaries as well. So all of these things were being done by local government officials who, again, the Privy Council agreed that there should have never been an extension. If there shouldn't have been an extension, then that means that they expired on December 3rd.
Well, I think both you and I know too that the heads of the corporation, the mayors and the chairman, remain in office until that election is called and a new mayor or chairman is sworn in, right? So a council still exists by way of the head of the council.
Yeah, and that is something that has been in place throughout the local government process, because like I said, after they expire at a certain date, they have 3 months in which an election should be called and a new executive should be brought in. So the head of the corporation stays in place, remains there to oversee the transition to the new executive. And therefore, and that was part of our argument, that the local government bodies could function without the executive and with the head there to ensure that there was continuity of services.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that.
No. From my understanding, you and your team argued at one point, considered arguing constitutionality versus interpretation. Disaggregate that first, so we understand your approach.
Well, okay, so there are two levels of constitutionality that was argued in this case. One was whether or not people have a constitutional right to vote in a local government election. And the second was whether or not the parliament had a constitutional right to amend the term of an incumbent local government body without going back to the poll. In the first case, the Privy Council ruled that no, there remains no constitutional right to vote in a local government election, and that isn't just in Trinidad and Tobago, that is throughout the Commonwealth. The UK is actually signatory to a treaty with the European Council of Human Rights, and that council strictly prohibits any notion that someone should have a right to vote in a local government body. They view local government bodies as a state-owned enterprise or a corporation that answers to government and reports to parliament. And therefore, because they don't play a role in the legislative arm of government, there should be no right to vote for them. So that's how they see it. But the second part of it is whether or not the parliament has the constitutional right to amend the term, the fixed term of incumbent local government body. There is a right, but the government encroached upon it in the way that they attempted to do it, which is to come at the last minute and say, look, we're going to extend this by 1 year, right? And again, it goes back to the fact that there was no indication by the government that there would be extension during debate of the bill of amendments in Parliament, and because of that, because there was no clear indication prior to October of last year that they were going to extend, the Privy Council found that it was bordering on deceitful that the government could come and say, look, we're going to extend it by a year, which they termed was 1/3 of a full term, right? 1 year is a third of 3 years. And they said, this isn't something that can be hand waved away. So really and truly, it ought to go back to the electorate, because if they don't, what you're saying is that the government and the parliament has the ability to elect officials on behalf of the electorate. That is essentially what they would be doing.
One of the
ruling
explanations from the Attorney General yesterday was an interesting twist in that a question was asked about the government's role in this, and the Attorney General sought to indicate, well, it's not the government, it's the parliament who made this decision, and tried to say, well, the parliament voted when it's quite clear to everyone that the government had the majority and it was their will and the opposition was against it. How do you reconcile that sort of approach, attempted approach by the Attorney General?
Well, as I said, the Attorney General is grandstanding, and he's trying to save face and the embarrassment of losing yet another case for the government. This was the big issue with Mr. Ravi, who currently serves as Minister of Local Government. And when you listen to his speech, and especially the first part of it, before he got to the questions, he was using very deliberate language. And the language that he was using, he trying to play with words and try to make himself seem like, this is a victory. I mean, I've never heard, never once, and this isn't just me, no one will stand up and say, look, we went to Court of Appeal, we went to Privy Council. Therefore, 8 judges would have heard this matter, and 5 of them agreed with us, but 3 rule against us. Therefore, the 3 that rule against us is a minority out of the combine of 2 separate courts, right? That's absolute nonsense. And for it to be coming from an Attorney General, right, shows how he has no regard for the law, he has no regard for the judiciary. And it's not uncommon for him to do so, because we remember when he went to the court in Miami, the judge said, look, you were a senior advocate for one of the parties in this exact same trial, right? Now you're coming and you're saying, no, you'll be a junior party, and that cannot exist. You can't be a junior and a senior in the same trial. He says, no, I don't agree with you, right? I disagree with your assessment of the situation. I'm going to appeal this decision. I'm going to win. He appeals the decision and loses again, right?
Well, you just said something that may be open to interpretation by saying the Attorney General has no regard for the law and for the judiciary. That's a little uncomfortable for me, because I would say that he tried to spin by adding the appeal court justice's ruling to the, let me finish, to the Privy Council judges, which I think was a stretch, quite frankly. I've never heard that done before. because when the reason that you go to the Privy Council is because you have an option to do so because you didn't agree with the ruling of the appeal court in Trinidad and Tobago. So to add the justices of both courts was to me a kind of legal stretch in terms of the way I understand it has gone in the past. The final appellate court is the Privy Council, and those justices' opinion are what matters in the final analysis. So I just wanted to make that point in terms of whether or not your statement about him having no regard for the law or the judiciary can be contested.
Well, no, and no, I mean, the thing about it, right? If you, as an attorney general, can say, look, the highest court, as you rightly said, Privy Council is the final word and the final court in the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. Their word is final, right? And if you can go and you can look at that and say, no, I don't agree with the findings of the majority of this panel. I'm going to quote the minority section of that same report. I'm going to quote the Court of Appeal ruling, which is now defunct because of the Privy Council. But you say, no, the Court of Appeal ruling was mentioned specifically in this Privy Council ruling and therefore has weight. The reason that it's mentioned in the Privy Council ruling is because it's an appeal to that ruling. They have to cite the matters that were brought before the appeals court because that is what they're ruling on. They're not ruling on the substantive matter. They're ruling on whether or not the Court of Appeal was right in the ruling that they had handed on before. And they specifically end with the statement, the Court of Appeal was not right to prevent, to allow the government to extend the election by a year and to extend the term of local government officials by a year.
But to agree that the government had the right to extend it.
Yeah, and just I'll read directly from the statement. All right, I'll read the final. One sec. Yeah. So the Court of Appeal said, for the reason, this is number 51 in the ruling. For the reasons given in this judgment, the board is unable to agree with the Court of Appeal that the amendments to sections 11 and 12 of the Municipal Corporations Act, increasing the terms of office from 3 years to 4 years, applied to the incumbent councillors and aldermen. The board therefore allows the appeal, meaning that they agree with our decision to appeal and render the court.
Did we lose Ravi there?
He seems to have a bit of a bandwidth issue there.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Internet service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you get back on in a short while.
He's probably still talking, thinking he's on.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he'll come back on and we can ask him to recap what he'd been saying when we weren't hearing him. It's interesting that the Attorney General, I guess we'll have a press conference before the weekend is out, indicating what the Attorney General has gleaned from the attorneys that he's seeking advice from, which he indicated he's seeking advice on what's next based on the judgment of the Privy Council yesterday. But
I don't know if Parliament will be allowed to correct this. If the same Parliament that he quoted will be allowed to correct this with some sort of special sitting to deal with it. I suspect that's where we'll end up.
Yeah. All right.
Ravi, we lost you for a minute there.
We lost you when you started to read the judgment.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was on my end. But yeah, right. So, but I read the ruling of the Court of Appeal, and the section I read from, section 51, is the final words of the majority members of the panel that ruled on the matter. So, I mean, for the Attorney General to come and say, look, I'm going to ignore that part of it, but I'm going to consider the minority ruling, which agrees with my position, but carries no weight in the overall ruling of the Privy Council. Because, I mean, it's the minority ruling. I mean, it's good to consider that, there were objections within the panel and certain things. But at the end of the day, that doesn't quantify as part of the ruling itself. That's just these two judges had a dissenting opinion on what the majority ruled, and they wanted to voice that opinion. But that doesn't make it part of the ruling, and that doesn't instruct the parties of the matter in how they should proceed following the ruling.
You're still there, Ravi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From your perspective and your team's perspective, what should happen now according to the ruling of the Privy Council? What do you expect should happen based on that ruling now, from your interpretation of the ruling, of the judgment, sorry?
No, well, if the extension is found to be illegal, as it is, right, as the Privy Council said, the Court of Appeal had no right to allow the extension to take place. That means, as I said, the bodies, the local government bodies, would have come to an end on December 3rd last year. Therefore, all of these seats are now vacant. All of the alderman positions are now vacant. And the government doesn't really have a choice in the matter other than to call fresh elections to fill these positions. Again, but, because they wanted to save face, because
did the judgment include a time frame for that? Given now, if your interpretation is correct, the legality and question mark over those aldermen and councillors, is there a time frame within which elections should be called? The judgment was the judgment that specific?
Well, no, but we're currently working on an order from the Privy Council, and the order should be more instructional. We expect that to come down within 2 weeks. As to the time frames in which an election should be held. That said, the government has the ability, if they so choose, to call an election at any time within, the specified period that was in the legislation, which is 90 days. The 90 days technically have passed because it should have been before March 8th. But if they want to consider it now from the date of the ruling, then they have 90 days in which to hold an election for the local government bodies.
Yes. Are you saying that is open to interpretation?
No, that's my interpretation. Like I said, the Privy Council itself is considering the situation now that they've ruled, and they will prescribe instructions in an order that we expect to get within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Is this an order you have to apply for? Is it a normal process for the Privy Council, given the nuances of this circumstance, to further advise as to what the judgment means in terms of if the interpretation is the illegality of the present status of the aldermen and councillors, and how that impacts whether or not the 3 months that would have normally applied for the judgment date, or the date that it should have ended in terms of that interpretation?
Well, yeah, and like I said, they're going to have to examine now. Both councils are working on it as well, both my council and the council for the government. We are going to submit our opinions on the matter, and then the government's council is going to have to respond to it. And out of that, the Privy Council will make their final opinions known, and they will set aside instructions for the government. And that's another reason why I think, Mr. Moore is talking the way that he is, because he too understands, that the Privy Council will set out the instructions. And I think that is what he's working on before making the announcement of when
Are there plans or discussions to take further, in addition to the issue of the legality or illegality of the councillors and aldermen presently sitting, based on the questions from Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar about the decisions made, the contracts given out, the salaries paid? Do you plan to take any further legal action regarding those issues that have been articulated?
Well, I don't think that there's any course of action in terms of legality, unless we can find specific instances where persons might have misbehaved in public office. The only real case might be for the salaries, but that's something again we have to consider, and it'll be based on how the government proceeds
But they
with
not
the
receive the
rule.
salary based on in the absence of the final judgment from the Privy Council, because the appeal court did say that they thought nothing was wrong with it, right? So a persons who were paying those salaries would have followed that legally binding statement. So until the judgment of the Privy Council, where the question marks have arisen, why should somebody feel that their salaries that they received were illegally obtained, or there's some question mark over it? Because people were following the legal judgments up to that point.
Yeah.
Right, but again,
That's what you
like
can
I
go
said in
on.
the beginning,
That's what you can
we
go on.
filed an injunction to prevent this from happening. We saw where this was heading since October,
But
and
did the
that's the
injunction
reason we filed the
succeed?
injunction.
But did the injunction succeed?
No, exactly, but
No,
it failed
exactly.
in
So
the
if
local court.
if you're following the rule of law, you have to follow all the judgments of the rule of law.
Right, but you have to remember also that the Privy Council ruled that the Court of Appeal was wrong in their findings.
Okay. Understood. It's a pretty
Yeah.
complex situation for non-lawyers. So I'm just trying to understand.
It is extremely complex.
What do you think this judgment should be in terms of now? I think in many cases it's precedent setting in terms of any administration moving forward, and what authority they feel they have in terms of, in particular, where the constitutional rights to vote and elections are concerned.
Well, I completely disagree with the fact that we shouldn't have a right to vote in a local government election, but that is a complex debate that, like I said, it doesn't only exist in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the Commonwealth. So that is something that really needs to be looked at. In terms of Trinidad and Tobago, though, a lot of people, since we got this ruling, I've been on a lot of shows, and the topic that has come up the most is we have a ruling giving people the right to vote, but the question is, will people actually go out to vote and utilize their right to vote in an election? Because local government election turnouts are usually relatively low compared to general elections. And I think we need to inform the public about, exercising their right to go out and vote for persons, because these are persons who are spending their money, and these are persons who are responsible for much of the infrastructure.
Well, I think it's a wider
of the-
thing. I think we have to separate the right to vote with people's right also not to vote, because sometimes you get candidates presented to you that you have no confidence in either side or any side. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the right to vote should you choose to do so.
No, I agree completely. But when you
Because
look
a
at
a non-vote is also a statement,
I understand. But when you look at the disparity in the numbers between the people who vote for general election and the people who vote at a local election, there's a disparity. You get usually it's somewhere in the mid-60s will come out and vote in a general election. And for a local election, you'll get in the mid-40s, right? So there's a difference of about 20% of the electorate not coming out to vote. And, they're voting for the same parties in both elections. So I don't think it's a matter of making any sort of statement. I think there just isn't an understanding of how important a local government election is, simply because it isn't functional as a legislative arm. And that is what we need.
Well, I disagree with that at some level. I think it's partly because people don't necessarily feel it's going to impact their lives one way or the other. Whether that's a misunderstanding or not could be debated. But people generally, unless you have a disaster or a hurricane or some issue, people don't put the same weight on councillors and aldermen as they do a member of parliament and an MP for a constituency. Because one is at a local level, and two, the second one is at a national level. And the stakes are generally considered higher at a national level because you're voting for an executive.
Yeah, but I mean, when you consider the billions of dollars that is allocated to local governments, you have to remember this is money that everybody is paying taxes, right? And they're spending this money on your behalf. They're supposed to be developing the areas around your house, around your businesses. The local government bodies, they might not be responsible for any legislation that's being passed and how that affects you, but they're involved in your daily life more than the government, I think, in that way. You know, um, y- the drains that cause flooding, the bush that spreads mosquitoes, all of these things. And really and truly, people have to take responsibility for themselves. You can't just say, oh no, the local government body is not doing anything. You have to wonder why people are being elected to the local government bodies to do nothing, right? And whether or not a more responsible electorate would elect people who would serve their interests rather than the interests of their party or themselves.
But it's not only
I'm
that. I
in
think
agreement with you there, Ravi.
there's been a conversation on both sides of the political aisle about local government reform and the effectiveness of the present construct of local government and its proposed impact on the budgets. So I think that's part of the conversation also. So while we're educating people, we have also on both sides identified shortcomings in the present structure of local governments that need to be addressed.
Sure, and yeah, I mean, like you said, local government reform, the debate on it, it can go in so many ways. But the same thing can be said about the legislative arm of government as well.
Agreed.
The government want to say, they want to talk about the minority and majority of the courts. But that could be said of the government as well. They want to implement things, but often there's a majority of persons who disagree with the things that they're doing in government. And where does that factor into their decision making?
And when you say there's a majority of people disagreeing, how do you quantify that? Because people
Well,
could argue
like
the
you rightly
converse.
said, like you rightly said, in an election, you have the right to vote, but you also have the right not to vote. And not voting is making a statement. So when you consider that 65% of people voted in a general election, right? Half of that goes to the PR, a little more than half. Let's say 40% voted for the government, right? Then you have to look, well, if the government get 40%, that means 60% voted against the government, either by voting for the other party or staying away from the polls
No,
completely.
your maths is a
That's
little
the
off.
same logic
If
that I
40%
was
voted for
using
the
yesterday.
government, and there's a 65% voted turnout, 60% did not vote against the government. You're mixing up your numbers there, and you know that. Because the whole population, one is not eligible to vote of the eligible electorate. It doesn't mean that all people are going to vote.
Not voting is a vote. Not voting is making a statement. You are the one who just said that.
Not voting could also be, but it could also be apathy of both sides. It could also be apathy against both sides. And you know that.
But do you know in the first election, and I think it's about 88%, the very first election that we ever had, we got I believe it's some high number, but it's like 88% voted turnout. So when you look at the drop off from that to the other elections, it shows again that people are making a statement by not coming out to vote. And you have to wonder why. And again, it might not be a statement against the killer.
Some people are making a statement, and some people just don't care to be involved for many reasons in the political process. There's some people who just will never vote. They don't care if party green, yellow, red, purple, brown is offering whatever principles and proposals. They're just not going to vote. It's not even a statement at that level. Some will make a statement by not voting, but some will just never vote.
But if I remember carefully, I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses vote at all.
Exactly. There are many reasons that people don't vote. It's not a statement. They just won't vote because of the religious persuasion, because they don't think anything will change, because they're just not interested in the political process. There's several different reasons. And some are actually, well, I don't believe in either of the presentations, and I won't vote, so I'll make a statement. So it's not one thing.
Yeah.
You can't aggregate it as everybody who didn't vote is making a statement. That's an incorrect assumption.
Yeah.
Let me say so. But again, you look at the elections that have gone against the PNM, right? And you look at the voter turnout in those elections compared to the ones that the PNM have won. And you always see a dip in votes for those because people are staying away from the polls. And if they were motivated in one election and not motivated in another, I think that is a clear statement that they are making a statement. They have no confidence in either party and are making a statement by not casting a vote. That's my opinion.
Is it that you're expecting a high voter turnout now that these decisions have been forthcoming?
Not really. People, I think in society, for the most part, are very disenfranchised with the government, and they really, I think it was Paul who said this just now, but people
Disenfranchised
don't
or disenchanted?
disenfranchised. They think that the government isn't giving them the ability to vote in the last election. They think that what is the point of even going out to vote if nothing changes? They're disenchanted. But I think most of all, they're disheartened in the fact that the government will continue to do whatever they want, no matter what they vote for.
But Ravi, let's be fair. Let's be fair to the government and to the current prime minister. If memory serves me right, this is the very first time an election has gone past the due date. If because he has always held to that since he got into power in 2015, that elections are always held during the time.
He was part of the Patrick Manning administration between 2001 and 2010, when Patrick Manning delayed the local government election in 2006. Then
Yeah,
he
but that's
delayed
not to
it
say he
again in
agreed with it.
2007. Then he delayed it again in 2008, and finally held it in 2009 for an entire term. An entire 3 years term went on without an election, and those persons were
It was
allowed
four actually.
to remain in office.
It was four because I served in that 7 year stint in local government. So
Right,
it
but
was
where was Kid Rogers voice then?
well,
Why didn't
and
he stand up for democracy then?
I'm saying there's nothing to prove that he did in fact agree with it. But since he became prime minister, he has always held elections on time.
Well, always it's a relative term because he didn't do it in his time. So you can't say
Well,
always.
well,
99% he did.
so that's where I started. I started off from that point that this is the first time we would have had an election gone over the time, right? And clearly we're seeing the result of that now.
I mean, look at the general election, right? The general election occurred in a year where we had a global pandemic. The borders were shut. Everything was on lockdown. But he held the election on time because
Correct.
he understood the constitutionality of having an election on time. But if you could do it then why delay it now? That's the
Well,
question.
again, as I said, in 2016 he held local on time. In 2019 he held the local in time. In 2020 he held the general in time. So this is the one that clearly is the one that is up for contention.
Right, and I'm asking why? Why decide to do it now? And the thing about it, you're giving him
I would
kudos
expect it.
for
I would
merely
expect it was based on
following the
advice.
law, for adhering to the legislation that guides his office. You're commending him for that, and I'm saying,
No, no,
fine, you want to commend him for that, fine. But then answer to why he deviates from it now.
Well, and I'm saying, and this is my interpretation, it could have been based on whatever advice he would have gotten concerning the local government reform, which is one of the things that the government is insisting on doing before going back to the polls. Now, I can tell you, I am a bit disappointed that the local government reform didn't happen before because we've been talking about it for far too long. You understand? So I'm one of those who thinks that it should have happened long before. But I'm saying that there's no point going back into our local government elections with the same old status quo. It just makes no sense.
No, and I agree. Have you reform, have you think, but the reform amendments that were voted out and passed last year in Parliament should have been applied to the incoming
And,
executives instead
and
of the
that is where the
incumbents.
error occurred. That is where the error
Yeah,
occurred, according to the Privy Council ruling.
yeah,
Right? So,
absolutely.
yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to add before we close off, Ravi? We coming to the end of this interview.
Um, Not really. Well, I mean, again, the government needs to understand, and I understand why they would make the comments that they're making. You were talking just now about the advice that the Prime Minister is getting. And the advice that Mr. Moore is giving in public, I don't know if that's the same advice he given in private, but the advice that he's giving in public is bad advice, right? And really and truly, as an attorney general, you should not be casting doubt in the independence or in the judgment of the judiciary, especially the Privy Council, which is the final appellate court. I think that it's extremely dangerous what he's doing because when he starts on this road, there's a slippery slope. Nobody will trust the courts, and they'll say, "Look, the court ruled this way, but the court before had ruled this way. Therefore, I'm going to abide by the initial ruling, and I'm not going to abide."
Well, I don't think that's a fair comment to the Attorney General. I don't think that's what he said. That he is going to abide by the appeal court ruling as opposed to the Privy Council. It was very clear he has to abide by the Privy Council ruling. He has no choice in that matter. I think we lost Ravi again, Steve.
Yeah,
Oh,
there he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was saying, Ravi, I don't think that's fair to the Attorney General because I don't think he was saying that we should abide by the appeal court ruling and not by the Privy Council. He was clear that we have to abide by the Privy Council ruling. There's no choice in the matter. And which is why he said he would be seeking counsel from learned senior counsels and then advise the cabinet and the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but I mean, if this is the same senior counsel that has been advising them before and advised them on the path that they've taken to arrive at this point, then
He's really having a bandwidth issue.
It's a real bandwidth problem.
Yeah. He's out in Al Aire Libre. He's in open
Ravi, you
air.
should just turn off the camera and use the audio, and that'll be fine. It'll be better. Yeah, you should just turn off the camera and use the audio.
Yeah, Ravi, you can hear us. Just turn the camera off for a minute as we wrap up and just use the audio of it.
Just use the audio. Turn off the camera.
Yeah, that's bandwidth you'll have to use.
Yeah, we're hearing you,
Yeah,
Ravi.
we're hearing
Turn off
you.
the camera.
Just use the audio, turn off the camera for a while, and we'll complete the interview, please.
All right, he is not
We're
here.
hearing you.
No, but he's not hearing us. He's not hearing us.
Yeah. Ravi, you can hear us?
Yeah. Well, we'll just
Ravi?
have to end the interview there. We'll just have to end the interview there. He's not hearing us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ravi, can you hear us one more time? I don't know if you can hear us. No, we lost him. All right. So let's wrap it up there. Yeah.
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 Interesting perspective, of course, all nuanced by political. But it'll be interesting to see what the Attorney General is advised on and presents to the cabinet and by extension the public, because I mean the ruling is the final ruling, and it has significant implications. So the present local government bodies, councillors, aldermen, and for local government elections, which I think should just be called, quite frankly. It's just my opinion. Just call the date on this one.
Well, I can't believe, Richard, that they lumped me like an independent senator. We clinging on to office. Eh? They put me in that category there now, we clinging on to office. I'm feeling like an independent senator this morning.
Watch me doing that.
I don't think it has any
independence pass
choice.
very quickly.
Yeah, the state has no choice really but to follow what the Privy Council has said.
Yeah,
Of course.
And so that,
Yeah.
so that
You could spin and
I
you could
think
bump and you could so you could turn them what you want.
yeah, a local government election just has to be called as soon as possible,
Yeah.
as soon as practically possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they have a cap.
So
They have
whatever
a
that,
minimum
whatever
period.
that is, whatever that period is, the minimum period.
It's
in
35
terms of-
days. It's
then
35
that-
days.
Then that should be the period that they should, from ethical point of view, move to.
Yeah. 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 And I think I suspect by July we will probably have a local government election.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suspect sometime in
Yeah,
July we will have a
well, I
local
hope so.
Yeah.
Given the judgment, we really should, quite frankly.
Yeah. And that was the date I was hearing
So
prior
the
to
rule
all
of
this.
law is upheld.
That was the date being proffered prior to all this happening. July. So we may see it after all. Maybe somewhere in my dreams or somewhere in my future I saw it as a July election, and it looks like that was what may happen.
That'll mean you're a free man as of August.
I feel now.
Is now you're gonna enter the world more.
I feel now.
And then you're gonna pick up your and then you're gonna pick up your position in the Congress of Ghana.
In Portugal. I'm going to Portugal, sir.
In Ghana, you throw you in Ghana.
Yeah.
I have things there too.
I'll visit Ghana. I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to lay down my bucket in Portugal.
Lay down your bucket. What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. It's just a term, I guess. I'm going to
make more children. That's what you're gonna do?
I'm going to refill my bucket in Portugal.
I don't even know what that means. I'm not even going there.
There's a hole in the bucket, dear Wendell, dear Wendell. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Wendell. Then fill it, dear Wendell. Dear Wendell, dear fill it. With what shall I fill it?
Dear Wendell, with what shall I need to go to America.
Oh, have a great weekend to those of you who are looking at us on the stream. We are going to end the stream for the news right now. We continue on power2digital.com and on the app. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Pick you guys up the other side of 8 o'clock.